I think we need to get better at sort of walking the path and not so much chasing the outcome. What I'm realizing is the more we are outcome oriented, the more we focus on the future goals and just acquisition of stuff in general, the more we lose the present moment. And that's not to say don't have goals and don't have expectations for the future, regardless of how restriction they may be. But to say that, you can't see the beauty of the world if you're running past it all the time. You can't see the beauty of your journey, the beauty of your experience, and the beauty of yourself if you're constantly caught up in something you feel will make you beautiful. And what I'm realizing is it's not the outcome, it's not the goals, it's not the achievement, it's not the possessions that make a person beautiful, that make a person feel good. It's the effort and progression into themselves that makes them feel good. And that's why I feel like it's important for people to learn how to walk. In learning how to walk, you learn how to take each step. You realize that each and every step you take, each and every action, which is the law of accumulation, contributes to what you are and who you are now. Every step that you've taken in the past has led you to this point, and sometimes you have to pat yourself on the back for that and be appreciative of everything you've done for yourself to get to the point you're at. Regardless of which, when looking towards the future, keep taking more steps and keep being intent with those steps and keep paying attention to those steps. Learn how to appreciate each and everything you do in a way. And once you learn how to do that, then you'll start to do stuff that you'll appreciate. Not to say that, typically we don't, but to say sometimes we do things that are somewhat unbefitting of ourselves. We do things that, in the heat of a moment or heat of whatever. We just get caught up so much in sometimes our head and sometimes in fictitious realities, and we don't live in the present. We aren't present enough with our thoughts to understand the consequences of our actions. And we aren't conscious enough to understand how we're impacted by our own actions. I feel like a lot of times we think of what our actions might do to others, what this might do to someone, what this might do to, but we don't ever consider what this action might do to ourselves. And that's why I feel like it's important. You really have to take care of yourself in more ways than one, mentally, physically, spiritually, and you have to learn how to balance. If you don't know how to balance, they can overcompensate for themselves, but regardless of which, life is found within the small instantiations of appreciation. Life isn't the grand goal to the end of your life. Life is everything you do. Life is everything you are. I can't wait to live my life. You're already living it. It doesn't make sense how we sort of separate ourselves from existence, from life, in a sense, because we haven't achieved something or something isn't in our possession. When are we going to realize that life happens regardless? Existence happens regardless, and who we are happens regardless. So it's important to appreciate whatever is there, wherever it looks like. Whether or not you want to chase your dreams, chase your goals, of course you should. But, there's a certain love you have to have for yourself as a person just for existing. And I'm not trying to incentivize people being lazy or not doing anything or procrastinating, but to understand that if you don't love yourself from the base, regardless of what your expression is, regardless of what you build on top of it, you won't learn to appreciate that because your foundation's uneasy. I'm saying we have to learn how to love ourselves unconditionally without, expectation of getting some reward, without having to prove it to ourselves, and or I guess not so much in a sense of application of self-love, but in a acquisition of items, acquisition of possession, or some type of achievement. I feel like proving yourself that you love yourself is just putting in effort every day to be you, putting in effort to sort of diminish all the things that are sort of separating yourself from yourself, such as the past, the future, over thought. And I realized thought is a killer sometimes, just because it doesn't have to be grounded in anything for it to exist in your head. And I think we have to learn how to use that power to our advantage, and how sort of unhinged our minds can get. It shows us how beautifully it can be put together. Like recently, I ain't gonna lie, I've been not overthinking, but thinking in such a weird grand sense that I'm kind of getting lost. Not lost in like a going crazy way, but lost in a sort of, there's so much out here. There's so much life to be lived, and there's so much for me to experience, understand, and learn about. And once I realized that that's kind of a detriment because, you can't really live in the future. You can't live in a world of infinite possibilities. What you have to do and all you have to do is be here now and live in this possibility, live in this reality. Because what I realize is you can't choose a possibility, you can't choose a path if you're not present in it. And if we're constantly chasing the outcome, then we're not focused on what path we're taking to our goals. It's also important to make sure you're taking a good path, because if you take a good path, then whatever you receive will feel justified. It will feel worthwhile rather than it feeling like, oh, I put people down to get here. I did this to get here. Oh, I had to put myself aside to get here. Sometimes you do, sometimes you don't. But when it comes to our goals and our acquisition, sometimes it's a form of self-love to put yourself under a little bit of pressure. Sometimes it's love to give yourself a little bit of a push. Like, if, like with me, the pressure is like more so a physical thing. Like, I do physical therapy. I have to work out pretty consistently to make sure my body is on 10. Otherwise, it's not going to work properly. Regardless of which, it's just about the little stuff you do to make sure life is something that is acceptable for you. Make sure you're doing everything in your power to make life up to your standard. Not necessarily expecting life to give to you what you want, but give yourself exactly how you want to give yourself. Understand that you play a part in the world you live in. And if you're, vesting yourself in positivity and love, and you're actually taking care of yourself and you're doing the things that you need to do, then regardless of what situation ensues outwardly, your internal world will allow you to live in a relative peace. Everything is internal. And I don't think a lot of us realize how much of our life and how much of whatever we deal with is constructed by our mind and constructed by whatever is beyond that. We lose a lot in our inability to appreciate and be grateful for the moments that we have. And that's not to say life doesn't go on, because it does. But that's the problem. That's the entire reason why we need to learn how to appreciate. Because if every moment is fleeting, then we lose so much. We lose so much in our inability to be present and here. There's so many lessons, so many things we can learn, so much we can do, and so much that we are in the present moment. And we strip that away in our thoughts about the past and future. And I realize a lot of times when we're trying to construct the future in our head, when we're thinking about it, when we're in overthought, we reference the past. We reference sometimes parts of the negativity of the past that we don't want in the future to establish the future, which doesn't make sense. And that's why I'm saying we have to sort of like live life without reference. Understand what you want right now, right here. Like, regardless of which, my goal is going to be the same as it was yesterday. But I'm not living in reference to yesterday as it pertains to that goal. I'm sitting on top of yesterday. Let yesterday be yesterday. Let it be a stepping stone. Keep going forward. And understanding that my goal today, I'm going to do whatever I can with whatever I built up in the past. And if I don't have anything built up in the past, I'm starting new today. It's just about constantly giving yourself that assurance and affirmation. Because at the end of the day, affirmations, like I do affirmations in the morning, but you have to affirm yourself. You have to make sure that whatever it is, whoever you are, and in the space you take up, there's confidence within it. Otherwise, you're going to feel like you're taking up space wrongly. Or you're going to feel out of place. And there's no such thing as out of place in my head when it comes to character. As long as you are comfortable, you are in place. And if you're uncomfortable, it's about accepting yourself for who you are, one, and learning about yourself and learning about interaction and learning what you need to do to make yourself comfortable. And a lot of times I realize it's not so much what you have to do to make yourself comfortable, but what you have to tell yourself and believe within yourself to be comfortable within certain situations. I feel like it's a strength of character that allows somebody to be confident in sort of indomitable. The way a lot of us aim to be is sort of unshakable. And the only way I see that truly happening is not through being big machoistic, in a super masculine energy, but understanding that all you have to do is be you. all you have to do is take care of you and treat yourself like a friend, but an honest one. Make sure you're being honest when it comes to, what you're doing. If you feel like you're not taking care of yourself and you suddenly feel like that and you're just going to keep doing it because, you don't have enough strength to tell yourself not to, sometimes you got to sit down with that. It's not always easy to improve yourself, but you can't hate yourself into improvement. You have to love yourself into that. You really have to learn to appreciate even the negative parts of yourself so they can shine in light, so they can be seen. If you're constantly letting it live in your shadows, then it probably won't ever be addressed until it comes out. Then it'll be ugly and we won't be able to do anything about it until after the situation. I feel like regardless of what happens, regardless of life, you're going to go through things that make you change. And sometimes you have to be confronted with a negative thing. And my whole point in doing this in the acquisition of information and knowledge is to stop, that possibility and that potential. Because it's not necessarily embracing all the negativity that could happen and accepting like how Marcus Aurelius was doing it. But in a sense that I'm going to make sure that I'm good. I'm going to make sure that whatever world I want to live in is the world that I live in a sense. Not necessarily in a delusional way, but in a way that you have to appreciate your perspective. You have to appreciate the thing that has that perspective as well in order to live in this world. It's not just about what you do, but how you feel about what you're doing. And sometimes you just have to shift it. Sometimes people are already doing the right thing and maybe societal pressures make them feel like they shouldn't. It's just about affirming to yourself and understanding that there's still so much out there. There's still so much left to learn. There's still so much I don't understand. Like, the more I know, honestly, like the quote, the more you know, the more you don't know. Or the man who knows anything knows he knows nothing at all. It's so true. Like, I feel like this journey that we embark on when it comes to ourselves is never ending, but I feel like it's never supposed to. He who thinks the journey is over is the one that's truly lost. And once we are lost, once we are sort of beyond connotation in a sense, that's when we are allowed to label ourselves in a sense. Tell ourselves that this is that. You have to keep going, regardless of which. You can be comfortable and content, but you can be comfortable while you're changing. And not all change is a negative. Not all change has to feel like a project where you're being picked up and thrown around. Oh, this is that. Be calm. Sometimes we just got to take a deep breath, meditate, do whatever we need to do to get back to the present moment and realize that a lot of problems in the mind are just that, in the mind. We get so caught up in a lot of fictitious nonsense that we don't really see what's right in front of us. We ask ourselves questions. I keep referencing this. We keep asking ourselves questions like, what am I doing? Who am I? We don't open our eyes to look. It's already expressed. It's already here. Who you are now is already sufficient. You are already somebody. We don't become somebody. You become aware. And once we come to that realization, I feel like that's when life truly starts to begin. Because then it's no longer about, oh, what's this person doing? What's this person doing? It's like, what am I doing? What am I doing? Stop getting so caught up in things that are outside of you. Not to say be selfish. I still keep up with what my friends are getting into with this, that, and the other. But if it's negatively impacting me to a great degree, and it's not family, and it's not someone I deeply care about, it's not something I deeply care about, it's something that's inherent to me as a person, then you have to let it go. The mind is only so big, and I'm realizing that, you take care of your responsibilities, make sure you're on top of that. You take care of what you need to take care of, and you keep moving forward. You only can relax in proportion to how much work you put in some degree. And I find a lot of beauty in just being able to apply yourself to life and then having life bless you with tranquility at some point. Bless you with friends, bless you with family, conversations, events, maybe a sunset, regardless. Have appreciation and make life intimate for yourself. No one's going to do it for you, and no one's going to, breathe that life into you when you have to breathe life into life in a sense. So if you made it this far in the video, I like this one. Very positive, very up. keeping y'all, keep being great. Make sure you're taking care of yourself, because at the end of the day, you're the person who can really do that for yourself. You know, not just in terms of a physical thing, but a mental thing. Make sure you're keeping track of where your overthought is going and whether or not thought is even viable for certain situations. If all you can do is think about it, then it's probably not worth thought. So make sure you're taking care of yourself. All in all, keep being great. And